in, and this one is a really good one as well. We have a caller that called in, and she would like you both to explain the difference between estate planning and legacy planning. She said, what is the difference between the two? Jay, do you want to tackle that?
Yeah, well, I mean, so Stephen really drives the tax planning part of our practice. He's an expert in case design. And I think that it's really important to understand that whether you're doing estate planning or legacy planning, generally a part of that, not all of it, has to do with reducing taxes on the transfer. Yeah. But there's other things like asset protection and just making sure that your wishes are adhered to. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about the similarity and differences between those.
Yeah, no, it's a great question because people don't really understand the difference. They, a lot of times people just kind of merge those together. They think they're the same. But really what an estate plan is, that's really going to incorporate about three things. That's going to be your will, your trust, and a power of attorney. So that's if something happens to you today, how's your estate going to be handled, right? Like, who's going to be the trustee of the estate, and how's it going to be handled just through the process of after your passing, or God forbid, even if you become in a medical coma, how's your estate going to be handled that way? And then legacy planning is really wanting to leave a lasting impression that's either for your own family or for charities. So you could do multi-generational planning at that point. That's when we start getting into, with some of our higher net worth clients, we start getting into a lot of multi-gen planning. So we start setting up, stuff for their grandkids or even great-grandkids where we're helping people pay for colleges for their great-grandkids they never even met because they're no longer here, but their great-grandchild knows who they are because they never had to pay for school.
Wow, that's fascinating. I love that.
That's creating a real legacy plan for you and for multi-generational. And then a lot of our wealthy clients are also into charity. So how do we set up continuous giving to some of their favorite charities, to their most important causes to them, either breast cancer or whatever it might be. Sure. But then creating a legacy there as well. And some people want their name up on a building somewhere. You just never know. So that's and those are the real difference. One's dealing with kind of what happens right away upon passing, and then the legacy planning is really for somebody with usually more wealth is when we start talking about legacy planning because we can do multi-generational and charity.
And it's
planning.
not always a philanthropic conversation that drives a charitable giving or not. But I think that estate planning is something that every person should deal with. Yeah. You have to have your wills, you have to have your living trust, and you have to have those medical directives and power of attorneys. That's just to make sure that things are taken care of and you ease the burden on the people you care about the most. Sure. That things are kind of categorically taken care of. Legacy planning is when you start thinking about how will I be remembered, what do I want to achieve, how can I give back now and in the future. And depending on where you're on that spectrum, there's always a new and improved way to attack and cover these things. And through our advanced tax planning practice and also through our family wealth management office, we're able to tackle that based on individual needs. And so I think it's a great question, and one just sits on top of the other. Legacy planning is a further component of estate planning.